mini mastery. If you got a progressing, just separate piece of paper, like separate piece of graph paper. Also up here, we have little quarter sheets of graph paper now for when doing corrections. If you were absent or for some reason you took your test with you and I didn't get it back or whatever, you probably need to come see me at AO or Extensions because we'll need to find a time for you to take that test. I know kids are in and out of school, guys, so when you're absent, I'm not going to say if, because at some point this year you're probably going to miss school. When you're absent, make sure that when you come back, you check in with your teachers. Right? We have a really hard time of keeping track of everything for everyone. So come check in with your teachers. And if stuff ends up in Schoology if stuff ends up in MAP as missing, is that the end of the world? No, guys, MAP is just feedback. MAP is saying, hey, I don't have this assignment. It's not a bad thing. It's a bad thing if you were at school and just didn't do it and didn't turn it in. But like if you're absent, it's just telling you, hey, I need that assignment. Okay? So, Friday we'll probably have a mini mastery just about like the stuff we're going to do this week, which actually the stuff this week will hopefully feel not terrible.
Pardon the interruption. Will Catherine Pastor please come to the Perry office? Caroline, sorry. Caroline Pastor, please come to the Perry office.
Alright, so brand new sheet of graph paper then. You had chapter 1 to warm up and remember how to be a student. Chapter 2 is when it's going to matter again. So we're going to start taking notes all together and we're going to do it in a particular way. Oh no, I took my notebook home. I didn't bring it back. I was going to say, if you didn't grab a new packet yet, because I know when you came up to pick up your mastery, that was probably all you were focused on. If you didn't get one of these yet, come up and grab one right now so we make sure you don't forget. And then put your name on it right now as well. Lucas? The 20th. We may not be in this habit yet. I do have it right here. I know it doesn't have the year now, so it looks kind of weird, so I was trying to fit a lot in. I try to have it on the start slide so we all know what day it is. And then next year I can be like, when did I teach this? Right? It kind of helps me year to year. So, let's talk about how we're going to make our notes look before we even dive into them. So, like I kind of, sort of jokingly, but like serious, chapter 1 was like your warm-up, right? We talked about how to take notes, we practiced a little bit, but I didn't collect any of your class notes, and I think a lot of you took notes and then lost them. Or took notes and then like never looked at them again. When we take notes, it's for us to go back and look at them. So sometimes on your practice work, I have a little section in your, I got to show you in your packet something that I put in here for you, because I like you guys. So if you still have your packet out, I should staple this one because this one only printed one-sided. All right, I'll keep you in suspense for that. We're going to head our notes all together, chapter 2, because this is the beginning of chapter 2. Fraction, decimal, percent. Ooh, you don't even have to write out the word percent if you don't want to. Conversions. And if you're like me and like really straight lines, you'd be looking for a ruler right now. Hey guys, did we do any fraction, decimal, percent conversions in chapter 1? Yeah, and it was on your mastery. So hopefully this is not too big of a stretch because we already introed some of this. So now that the math, I'm hoping, will not be quite as challenging as it might be, I'm going to step up the expectations in how we're taking notes and keeping ourselves organized, because it's all going to pay off in the long run. So what's the first number we're going to talk about? Probably number 1 if I were to guess, right? So we should probably go ahead and number 1 on our paper. every day of class should have some sort of documentation that you were here and did stuff. Right? Like, no matter if we do 1 problem or 10 problems, we're probably writing things down. So I'm going to go ahead and off to the right, put today's date so I can remember, like, what day it was. Because I'm probably going to work this space and then squiggly line across my page, because that's just kind of how I do it. I don't care where you put your date, but you should have the date somewhere. If you don't use the whole page in a day, you can squiggly line across and put the date for the next day. Cool as a cucumber. Anyone want to read? It's like a competition. Kylie, let's let you read. Can you see up here?
Decent enough.
Decent enough? Go ahead and read this whole paragraph then.
In previous lessons, you explored different representations of portions. First, of poles, you look at proportions represented as fractions and as decimals, and you went back and forth between the representations. While fractions are written in a common format, that is the quotient AB, where A and B are integers.
Yeah, let me help you out with this. So those are weird words. That quotient is the answer to a division, or like what a division problem looks like when written like that. And integers is another vocab word that we're going to talk about in just a second. We're going to actually write down on our paper. So go ahead. A and B are integers. Go ahead, Kylie.
Their decimal representation has 2 types, terminating and repeating. Why does this happen? In this lesson, you will work with your team to determine what makes some decimals terminate and some repeat.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Kylie. So we got 2 pictures down here, and I don't know about you, but I like pizza. Oh wait, you guys already know that about me, hopefully. I think people know that about me within 5 minutes of meeting me. We should do a like favorite pizza place survey. Sorry, random thought. So if you would like to copy down these images on your paper, which would probably be useful for us, so we have that little visual to go with. That first one is 3 wide, but we don't have to just make it 1 tall. So if you'd like to make a little 3x3 on your paper, and guys, this is saving us an entire sheet of paper. Me not printing out the resource page. And sometimes I just make that decision of like, I want to be more conservation-minded than that. So that's like part A. And then part B, same thing, except instead of being 3 wide, it's 4 wide. And then if we were to try to divide these without a calculator and figure out what's the decimal representation here. Before I get to that, that weird word, that quotient word, let's try to write one of those like a number over a number to represent what's shaded up here. So how can we talk about like what we have and what is shaded? Anyone able to help me out? Dikshita? 2 of them are shaded, total parts are 3. What about this one over here? Anybody just shout it out? Yeah, like 3 out of 4 right now. If we don't have a calculator and we don't just have these memorized, I have not asked you to do this entire year, but what method can we use to get this or this, a division, into a decimal? It's 2 words that kind of like make my bones shudder a little bit. And Antonella? Yeah? Aiden?
Quarters?
Ooh, no, not quite. It's a skill that I really don't like, actually. Not quite fair. Hard. Oh, long division! Long division. We're back to long division. So everyone make one of these. You know you love the long division symbol. And make one of these. Now, we, like me included, often, if we don't use something for a while, we kind of forget a little bit. Which of these numbers goes on the inside of that symbol? Oh, guys. So this is why we need to remember. So this is our numerator, and this is our denominator. The way that I remember this is our numerator goes inside, right? N for numerator goes inside. And the denominator is knocking on the door. The other way that we can double check, did we set it up correctly, is should this answer come out to be more or less than 1? Less, right? So when I go to start this division, does 3 fit into 2? No. So we put a 0 here, and we automatically know our answer is going to be less than 1. Now we get to fix the feng shui. And there are maybe like 4 of you in here that know what I mean with that. What's wrong with my room right now? What's wrong with this room? It feels weird. Oh, I forgot to turn that on. You're right. That's funny. I am recording. It's my, yeah, you can kind of see the little frame. How are we normally working? In groups, and we're not right now, right? So, we need to group up and make sets of 3. You guys are all looking at me like, oh no, wait, really? So, if we can get up and just quickly, it doesn't have to be perfect, because then I'll fix the desks after we leave. Groups of 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever, I'm going to fix them into groups of 3 later. But group up, let's chat with each other about this. Because long division's hard, we need some help. Make sure that you're with people that you can work with, because we are turning in these notes at the end of the week. Yeah, these things are hard to drive because the wheels go off. Alright, then start chatting about long division. How do we do 2 divided by 3? How do we do 3 divided by 4? Yeah, I don't remember how to do long division either. Can someone... Alright, the conversation I'm hearing from multiple groups is like, wait, I don't remember. Is somebody confident and they can talk us through this? Layla? Twinkle? So, now that we put the 0 up here, what number are we trying to put into what number? Well, so we put this 0 here, so now what are we trying to do?
I don't know. I'm just talking about how it works.
No, you're right. Everything you said up to this point is right. Mar? Am I trying to put 3 into 0 now? Or?
You subtract 0, I think. Or, wait, what?
So really, I get in this bad habit of skipping that step. You're right. We did nothing, so we subtracted 0. So we bring down the 2. Guys, now we're working with the 20 because we didn't do anything with the 2. So the 20 is what we're trying to say. How many times does 3 fit into now? So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. How many times does 3 fit into 20? Yeah, up to 18. But how many times is that? 6 times. So that was an 18 that we subtract away. Right, we get a 2 left over. And then we do what?
Bring down the 0.
We drop down the next value, which here is a 0. So I want your group to continue this, but also like go ahead and hop over and do the 3/4 also. Go ahead and do the long division for 3/4. Once you think you figured out the first one, move on to the second one. Whoa, why are you mad? Why are you mad, bro? Well, that's okay. Move on to the next one. I didn't say you have to do it forever.
Yeah, you want to make sure
That was easy. Did I tell you guys a story about Albert Einstein? So, apparently Einstein's teacher got mad at how smart he was, and he was always kind of bothering her. And she told him to add up all the numbers from 1 to 100, thinking that would keep him busy for a while. It didn't really work. Because, Albie's a smart dude. That's Einstein on my door, by the way, if you hadn't figured that out. He did it right fast. So I did not tell you some like crazy tasks to keep you busy for a long time. What a lot of you are already mad at me. What did you figure out about the first division? Layla? It literally repeats. She yelled at me as I walked around there. It's literally repeating. Because 3 goes into 20 again 18 times. Again for a 6. Again to subtract and get 2. Sorry, you now can't see. And again, as Layla got mad, we dropped down to 0. And it's literally repeating. So we would put that bar over it. And you're done. Just move on. I'm not Einstein's teacher trying to keep you busy. All right, do 3 divided by 4. Do 3 divided by 4. Who? You found an N? Finish. Ooh, bad word. Bad word. Ow. He said easy. How many times does 4 fit the 3? Ooh, so you gotta drop it down, right? So now we're trying to fit 4 into 30. Ooh, good. Very good. Sorry, you had your hand up. Then I started talking about Einstein. Are you good now? Okay. Yeah, you can use your multiplication table too. How was your weekend? Good? Anything fun? Really? I went to all for 8.
Well, like that's me. I also drunk my
You almost drowned your dad. That's very nice of you.
It was an accident.
Did you deserve it?
Like actually, kind of.
All right, bring it back up. I guess we can pull some cards if people want a chance at that. Eve, would you like to walk me through this? You're welcome to pass. Sweet. Let's go for it. So, what was the first step that you thought about?
The number below it is 30.
Ooh, so 4 doesn't fit into 3. So, sorry, there's full screen. So whether or not we show the subtraction, some teachers let you, just kind of skip that step. But we should probably write it. All right, what do I do now? 4 goes into 37. Oh, yeah. Also, we had this 0 up here, right? Because the first thing we did was nothing. So now 7, and 7 times 4 was... What's 28? Okay, thank you. All right, somebody jump in and help then. Aiden? Ooh, 20 divided by 4, but yeah, so how many times does 4... You're good, I knew what you meant. Making sure for the people at home we say it again. Alright, so now, that was 20, and I dropped down to 0, and how many times does 4 go into 0? Okay, so I write a 0, and I do 0, and I do 0, and I drop down to 0, and how many times does 4 go into 0?
0.
Okay, so I do 0, minus 0, I drop down, I put a 0.
Why 0? Put the bar in. Once you get 1 0, you're done.
Well, nobody told me I was done.
Put the bar in.
How do I know? Layla's like, what the heck is wrong with this guy? What? Why am I done? John?
Because once you get 1 0, once you get the answer
as soon as, hey, whoever's got the ball, can we please hold it? We're not in phys ed right now. As soon as I can perfectly subtract and end up with 0. This 0 was the only thing I needed. Everything after that was unnecessary and me just trying to be silly, but I know I'm not funny. It's okay. So that also creates zeros up here. And guys, we could keep dividing, quote unquote, and we would just keep getting zeros out here, and these don't matter, right? The zeros out here don't tell us anything new. So our number is 0.75, and I heard somebody say put a repeating bar over the 0. We could, it just doesn't really matter. So here we see the two major differences in types of decimals, which will, hint, hint, cough, cough, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, probably, maybe, be on your test on Friday. So you should write this down. This, we already said, does what, Layla? It is repeating. I'm actually going to write that in red because I don't like it. Probably. What if instead of calling it a test, I call it a super happy fun time? Okay, we're going to have a super happy fun time every Friday. So, repeating a nice example of repeating is 2/3 turns into 0.6. We also have looked at 1/3 turning into 0.3. But then I'm going to write it in green because it's kind of nicer sometimes. The other one we call terminating. Because it stops. Boom, that's it. And if you want to make yourself a little reminder example, you could write out like 0.6666, and then like the ... also works. Any questions? All right, now I'm out of a page, but we got one more vocab word to talk about before we really move on to really the next, I don't know. So some of you who are in my advisory group saw when I brought in cheese sticks.
You didn't give us?
I think the confusion about me continues. Okay, so number 2. So if you're on the same page, good for you. You write smaller than me. Number 2. Now, a lot of you probably are on the same page. And guys, you don't have to write 2-2. We know we're in chapter 2. We have 13 cheese sticks. If you want to spell sticks with an X like Twix, I don't care. You can be cooler than me. No, I'm sorry. I don't actually have 13 cheese sticks. So we have 13 cheese sticks, and there are 5 people. I want you to talk with your group. How much does each person get?
Yeah, there's some left over. Not everyone can get. So what? How do you guys figure out the actual?
Nope. No calculators. Because is there any risk about getting the right answer? How much do we for sure get? Okay, for sure? Okay, what do we do with what's left? You know? You know? All right, I need you to write down food per person. Food per person. Because that's what we're trying to solve, right? How much food does each person get? What is the food per person? Guys, what does per tell us to do? For each, how do we get to that point? We divide. So please make a note here. Per is telling us to do a division. So we're going to take the number of food and divide it by the number of people. Which here is what divided by what? 13 divided by 5. Now, we sort of want to visualize this, right? Say we're making like a nice charcuterie board with our cheese sticks. Now, let's put a visual to it, right? So, we got 13 cheese sticks. Boom, here we go. Delicious. 5 people. Gotta love their hair. So, what did you guys already figure out? How much do they for sure get? 2, because that's just 10 of them. So then, what do we have left over? 3. So if we're showing this work, let's write down the work. So, 13. You guys can't see me. This, hold up, I want your paper to look like mine, please. And I'm warning you now, I want your paper to look like mine. 13 goes on top. It's the first number we talked about. It goes on top. The second number we talked about, in this case, the amount of people, goes on bottom. Meaning when we come to write it as long division, 13 goes inside. 13 goes inside because it was the numerator. If you're sitting here like, look, I know this, I'm decent at this, good for you, I'm happy for you, but not all of us are. We haven't practiced this in a while, and it's still easy to make mistakes. So we said 5 does go into 13 twice. And what did we get when we did that? 10. This is the first time that we haven't had a 0 to start. For today, at least. What do we have left now? 3, right? We have 3 cheese sticks left. So now, especially if it's a cheese stick, what can I do to it? Cut it up, right? So if we take our cheese stick, should I cut them in halves? Would cutting each of them in halves make sense? No, that probably wouldn't. Well, but I'm one of these 5 people.
Oh, okay.
What's a nicer, what in the system of math that we're used to when we start to cut things up? What's the first, guys, when we start to, where's my dry erase markers? When we work past the 2 and we start to cut things up, what is this spot? But what's it called? You're right. Tenths. So you should probably make a reminder in your notes that the first decimal spot, if we're going to try to cut things up to be decimals, our first spot is tenths. So if I was literally thinking about cutting these cheese sticks, I should probably cut them into tens to make life easy. Then we can distribute the tenths, little cheese cubes now. Little baby cheese cubes. Probably more fun to eat than the cheese sticks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 makes life nice. And did we give them all out? Yeah. And this is how we know that we get a terminating situation, because that subtraction works out nice and we get a 0 at the bottom. So please make sure that your notes reflect this, that this 0 would drop down. This becomes 30. We say, how many times can 5 fit into 30? That would be 6. So guys, if you didn't care about the cheese sticks, that's fine, but some of us are visual learners and we like to see things. The main thing I want you to remember, so if you're going to write down one important thing that would probably maybe potentially be on the quiz, cough, cough. The first way we split things up. Thank you. First way we split things up is tenths. If that wasn't good enough, if we couldn't get to this nice answer with tenths, what's the next way we split things up? Hundredths. Is it DTH? And just for good measure, if still the hundredths didn't work and now we're cutting our cheese into really, really tiny pieces, what's the next spot? Thousandths. Thousandths. All right, so I might just give you guys this challenge and let you roll. I don't need this. Get out of here. Not you. Sorry, Mr. Johnson.
That's okay, I'm already good.
Not talking to you. I didn't mean to say get out of here right after you walked in. So, Katrina's working in a fraction factory. And actually, I think I'm going to back up on this and say, all right, so Katrina. So label this 2-5. Actually, this is number 5. Because we're skipping the other problems because I want to. Do you want to do more problems? Well, you can go back and do them if you want. Katrina's working at a fraction factory and she has been asked to convert 20. Crud. That would have been the easy one. They didn't give her the easy one. 20 over 33. They've asked her to convert that into a decimal, and she does not have her calculator. So that then, like next week, you look at this question and you think it's easy? She doesn't have anything. She got her brain. So let's go ahead and set this up for long division. Yes, she's got paper and pencil. Everyone always has paper and a pencil.
Always. Oh, yeah.
And don't forget to take a towel.
Why?
It's from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. You never know what's gonna happen. You never know what's gonna happen. Always bring a towel.
Isn't there a movie to that?
There is.
There's so many zeros in that.
Alright, so you're working with your team to try to figure out what is this decimal equivalent. I will offer up a lifesaver for anyone who can tell me or remind us here in like 5 minutes what this references back to that we did this year already. What does this actually reference back? Like this school year in my class, we've already done stuff like this. We've already seen problems like this. Yeah. It's really once you start working the number, like we would stop. So one thing that we know here is because it's going to be less than 1, we have to get to beyond the decimal. So, and this is where like, it's hard for me because I don't know how you guys got taught at your 12 different elementary schools. So I don't know that I'm going to be able to actually reconcile 12 different schools into like one way. So whatever you had been told with long division is fine. Like whatever you remember. The main thing we're going to use it for is with a proper fraction where the number on top is smaller than the number on bottom. We always are starting like out here. So since we're starting out here above this spot, we know the number we're working with is 200. And I'm actually going to tell this to everyone to remind us of, like, just this is long division I don't like, really, if we're being honest. Hey, so bring it back up here real quick. I had a really good question about, like, double checking with zeros and stuff like that. These zeros out front, these don't matter. You could hypothetically not write these, and it doesn't change the number, in quotations. It doesn't change the number. But you want to put at least a 0 in front of here to clarify there is no whole number. Because this is a proper fraction, and we know it's going to end up being less than 1. So put at least 1 0 here. And the way that we know where we're going to drop down and work is, does the 20, like, is this useful? No. So the first thing that's useful is 200, because 33 could not fit into 20. Because I'm dropping this 0 down, this is where I'm working, like where I'm going to place my answer. So how many times does 33 fit into 200? 6? All right, so what'd that get us? 198. Ooh, I think I'm going to run out of paper. So I get a 2. What do I do then? Can 33 fit into 2? No, so I bring down a 0. So hold on. Guys, please do this with me. Since 33 doesn't fit into 2 and I have to bring down a 0, what else do I have to do? We also put a 0 up here. Does 33 fit into 20? No. Gonna repeat what?
6 0.
Ooh, now we're getting feisty about who gets to answer. So we're just about out of time. But Katrina's work was right here. Right, and we are going to need to discuss what is happening. Hold on. For a lifesaver, can anyone relate this to other fraction work we did back in chapter 1? It's not 1/9. I know it was on, if you're looking at your book, 1/9 was referenced somewhere. You're close about, not like 9 is involved, but not 1/9.
Wait, is it 3/4? 3 9.
If you want to see, just look up here. I still got them at, nah, maybe I don't, but this could become something over 99. And we will talk about this tomorrow. We will talk about this tomorrow. It's not 6/9.